possess?
I would say so, yes. I feel like there's a social paradigm that our society has an extreme dependence and reliance on technology. That we just feel that we can excuse our problems, our actions right now, in hopes and belief that there will be a technology developed in the future that will make up for our consequences.
That's a great point. Now, this leads me to our next segment where, after the commercial break, we will introduce our third guest on the show, a specialist in genetic engineering. This man brings up some very interesting points. Bilbo, you please stick around, sir, and we will be right back after these commercials. Don't touch that dial. Welcome back, folks. Now we're going to introduce our third guest on the show, Dr. Jerry Garner, CEO here of Irish Inc. Jerry, welcome to the show, son.
Hey,
Welcome aboard. Great.
Hi, hello.
Have a seat.
Thank you.
Now, let's talk a little bit about genetic engineering, a theme prominent in Oryx and Crake, a work of Margaret. Now, Mrs. Margaret, why don't you go ahead and start us off? Tell us a little real-life example of genetic engineering. Go ahead.
Sure, you bet you. Well, I will say there is one real-life example that comes to mind, and it has to do with spider silk. And now what they're doing is they're taking this spider silk and trying to splice together two types of animals so they can harvest the spider silk.
Wow.
Now their purposes and intentions with the spider silk is to make things like armor and nets, maybe parachutes, things of this sort.
Used in the military, maybe.
Precisely, yes. And the benefits of it is its flexibility and its strength. So just one real life example for you.
Well, that's phenomenal. Now, that's great. Now, let's segue over to you, Bill. Well, I believe in the book we talk about pigoons, and these are manufactured pigs. Maybe you can give us an example.
Well, you might be familiar with this project, Margaret, the Canadian project. Basically, the objective was to reduce the pollution of, the pigs' manure. Yes, and basically, how they were going to go about that was basically they want to reduce the amount of phosphorus that comes out of their droppings. That way they can fertilize the land and reduce the pollution.
Well, great. Now, Dr. Jerry, you're the expert here on gene manipulation. Maybe you go ahead and elaborate on what your company is working on. Give us an example here, real life stuff.
Yeah, actually, nowadays our company really can do this kind of technique. Actually, basically, DNA is just a cold human. We have you can control our face, how it look like in our DNA. But you can read about how the DNA is the codes in our DNA. So now our company can already change the client's baby's eyes color. We control that already. But we have asked the clients to give his egg and sperm to us. Then we can find out which part of DNA is control the color of his eye. And then we just change it to, depends on what color the parents like.
Very interesting. Now, Dr. Jerry, do you think that this is just the start? You think this will evolve into more advanced manipulation?
Exactly. Actually, we have pretty good future about this technique. We can, people, but the only thing is that we cannot change our own body. You know what I mean? Because we are already born. You can only change yourself before you are born.
Now that brings up maybe my favorite part of the book. This is the Crakers. And maybe you can quick talk about what Dr. Jerry said in the Crakers. 20 seconds left, we'll go to a commercial break. So wrap it up for us, Mr. Apple.
Real quickly, you can see my example in the book about genetic modification like this with the introduction of the Crakers. And basically what happens here, one of the characters, Crake, decides that he has found some flaws within humanity and that he would like to almost create a new sort of being, in a sense, without these flaws. And, well, is he successful at this? I think you may have to read.
Well, you shall see. Now, last word, Dr. Jerry, you're the expert. What is your view on these Crakers?
Well, actually, yeah, I read a book, and I found the book is pretty good, and I like very much.
That's great. Dr. Jerry loves your box art. Now, when he likes a book, that's good stuff. Dr. Jerry, thank you. Mr. Bevel Christmas, thank you.
One thing that I just want to say
here, just for one last one, we'll bring up a special guest and known Austin College student, so you go ahead and stay tuned right after these messages. Welcome back. Now we're going to introduce a new special guest, a professor here at Austin College by the name of Randy Tanglin. Now hold on just a second, folks. I'm receiving news that Dr. Tanglin is not going to be able to make it. Apparently on the way over, she was speeding and happened to spill some of her hot cocoa on her lap. And is now going to get treatment. Now, Dr. Tanglin, we wish you the best. We're a little ticked off you couldn't make it, but we wish you the best. Stay healthy now. Now, as a mediocre replacement, we'll bring on an award-winning student by the name of Tom Riddle, who wrote an essay about Margaret Atwood's novel, Oryx and Crake. Welcome aboard, Tom.
It's actually Lord Voldemort. I actually started the Quidditch team in Austin College, so I like to call it Lord Voldemort.
You don't have too many friends, do you, Tom?
No.
No one.
But Margaret Atwood's my friend.
I'm not your friend, honey.
Oh no, how sad, Tom. What do you know? All right, let's move on. Now, Tom, tell us a little bit about your award-winning essay.
Well, I brought one for Margaret to read in case she wants to give it to her publisher. But some of the points I made is that Jimmy represents an American society now and how we are desensitized to everything that goes on. And also that...
So you would call Jimmy a microcosm of Americans, is that correct?
Yes.
Interesting. Now what else? Give us another point of your essay. Let's sum it up here.
If you look right there, Margaret, if you look, it's also global climate change is irreversible, and so we might have to change, we might have to rely on science. Do you agree?
I realize what I wrote.
Yeah. You should read that.
She's a feisty old lady out to declare. Oh, that's great. I love the old stuff from the 90-year-old lady. That's phenomenal. Now, Tom, thanks for being aboard.
I have a question, if I may interrupt you.
Yeah, please, go ahead.
Now, as a reader of my book, I'd like to know, what is your takeaway from all of this?
Great question.
Well, just like y'all said previously, that if we continue the road we're on with the desensitized world we live in, and continue going in this way through science, that it's just gonna end up being just bad. And
That's true inspiration at its finest. Well said, Tom. Well said, sir. Now, okay, that's great. Folks, thank you for tuning in. Let's go ahead and give a quick round of applause to Margaret, our special guest. Thank you, Mrs. Margaret. It's phenomenal to have you on the show. Now, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in, but don't you go anywhere. We're not done tonight. We will resume our program on gigantic babies right after the break. Thank you. Miss Margaret, thank you.
Thank you.
Stay tuned.